Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today we're going to talk about a theory. We're going to talk about history. We're going to talk about historical narratives and how those narratives shape history, and they provide us the lessons that we can learn from it. Recently, I expressed my support for a certain theory, and it's the thing is, what it's being called is not actually what it is. But when the right wing got a hold of this talking point, they shaped a narrative around it. And they turned it into a historical theory rather than something that has to do with legal studies. But whatever. After expressing my support for it, I got this message. CRT is racist garbage that only seeks to divide people by creating an oppressed versus oppressor narrative along the lines of race. History can teach lessons, but it should never be brought back as a tool of division and accusation. Okay, see, one of the interesting things about the right wing latching onto CRT as a term, it's led people to kind of just acknowledge that CRT is history. The two things have become pretty much entwined, even though that's not accurate. In the popular perception of things, that's the way people are beginning to see it. And the general idea now is that it's creating a narrative of oppressed versus oppressor, and that somehow that's A, inaccurate, and B, bad. I would like you to point to a period in history in this hemisphere since the arrival of Europeans that could not be defined by a struggle between an oppressor class and the oppressed class. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but that's the human experience. That is the human experience. As long as there are those who seek power, there will be those who seek to divide. And divide along race, ethnicity, religion, a whole bunch of different things, anything they can use to other people. And that creates that oppressed versus oppressor narrative that you're looking for. The word is, it's dynamic. It's not a story, it's what happened. That's history. That's what occurred. History can only teach lessons if it's accurate. If you can look at it and say, hey, this is what occurred, and then you can draw a parallel to what's occurring now, because while history doesn't repeat, it does rhyme. And the only way to draw that benefit is if you discuss it accurately. Yes, there is a narrative of oppressed versus oppressor, because that's history. That's the human experience. That's what's occurred. Go back. You can go back to ancient times and you will find this narrative, this dynamic, because it's how it works. And if you go all the way back then, you will find people denying that exists or justifying it in some way. Oh, well, we treat them really well here. So, A, it's accurate. Now, B, that it's somehow wrong to teach that. It's not. The reason the sharpness of that dynamic has declined is because we have taught it. We have explained the dynamic between oppressed and oppressor, and we decided that if you're neutral in that, if you are neutral in that struggle that has existed throughout the human experience, then you have chosen the side of the oppressor. That is American history. It's world history. If you want to get rid of that dynamic from your history books, you can't call them history books anymore. It's a fairy tale. A story made to make grumpy middle-aged men feel better about themselves. That's not reality. The world is a scary place. A lot of horrible things happen. If you are reading something that claims to be a history book and it doesn't make you uncomfortable, and you don't look at some of it and go, man, how did that happen? Why would they do that? You're not reading a history book. You're reading a propaganda text. That dynamic between the oppressed class and the oppressor, it exists. It's real. It's not manufactured. Point to a time in American history where that dynamic wasn't at play. You can't. CRT, as is commonly viewed, that's just history. Now, it may make you feel uncomfortable. You may feel like you're being subjected to an accusation. Look at me. It doesn't get much whiter than me. I don't feel like that. Why do you? Why do you identify with the bad guys in the story? Why don't you identify with those who sought to make the world better, who sought to bring about that change? If you read these history books and you identify with the slavers rather than those who helped the Underground Railroad, that doesn't say anything about the text. It says something about you. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.